right, welcome viewers. It is your boy James. I am back, and we are here to play a game of politics. If you read the title here today, then you know that we're going to be talking about the election. It is coming up tomorrow. If I was proactive on editing this and doing what I was supposed to do, and I thought, this is a discussion that I had really wrestled with, so I wanted to have this conversation with you guys out there. I figured there is a lot of people that probably are even still maybe in a similar position, and being able to discuss this and have no shame around this conversation, I think is gonna be fun, and I think it'll be good. So get in the comments, let me know where you're leaning, if you've made your decision. But I just recently, I think, came to terms. I was a very open-minded voter. I shouldn't say very open-minded, to be honest, because I was pretty much took Trump off the table to just let you know where I stand before we get into this. So I wasn't really openly considering Trump. I still did obviously take in some of the content to talk about or just to, form an opinion. But I can't say that I was open-minded in considering Trump as an option at this point. I think I've seen enough to decide that not the president for me in reality. Both Kamala, I was considering it. And if you guys have seen some of the content, otherwise, I'll just give you just a real quick rundown on some of the conversations we've had previously here. By the way, Sit and Politic, make sure you subscribe. Don't bullshit. Fucking Sit and Politic with your boy. Even past election season, we talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about movies, shows. We talk about sports, all the stuff here. So make sure you subscribe. But with this here, if you've seen me discuss it with some of our friends, I wasn't in love with how they came to the decision of propping up Kamala. I was very against the putting up in the elevating Joe Biden again as the incumbent. At a certain point, we just have to be honest with ourselves. We were really about to run a total empty meat sack. A meat puppet was about to be president. That was just incredible. And until being forced, and this is something, by the way, I want to keep it on Kamala and Trump, but this is important because I feel like it doesn't get mentioned enough as a total political sin. And the confidence, the shaken confidence of their, liberal constituents can't be understated. When you are exposed for running cover, and, you're going to allow a meat puppet to run for office, like that lets you know, one, that, don't shut me off here, guys that don't like to hear the conspiracy shit, because I'm not going to get deep into it, but I'm just going to say, the deep state is real, boys. I'm not sure, because I'm not going to appeal to the Trumpers with a lot of the other shit I'm saying. So let's just put it like this, though. That is deep state shit. And whether you believe in that or not, it's like that gives credence to those kind of ideas. When the institutions feel like it's appropriate or in its best interest or whatever the thinking was, to put somebody that is not coherent in that position and let them run and be in charge of the country for another 4 years. 4 years. Really disturbing stuff, to be honest. I mean, it can't be understated. And to be honest, that's one of the first things on Kamala's jacket that really drags her down is her association with that. That's why even some of the good things, as far as like policy things that you could maybe hold in high regard, she has to run from, because she has to run from the fact she was complicit in trying to put forth the meat puppet as president. So, I mean, real issues there. I just think, there's been too much circle jerking around the whole Biden thing. Way too many people were just like, he's a selfless hero. No, he put the Democratic Party in this position at this point where, a year previous to now, there was all this talk. It's too late to switch from Biden. It's too late to switch from Biden. All this bullshit. All to then 4 months later make the switch. make the switch. And it was still before the DNC. It really didn't have to be just a process where we anoint somebody, but they went ahead and they did that anyways. All bullshit aside, they're going to put forth a absolute mindless thrall. Serious concerns there. Kamala being complicit there, I think, can't be understated. That not being actually really addressed either, which, I understand why it's not addressed, because they're like, let's just run away from that. That's just too much. That's too saucy to even get into. But at the end of the day, relevant. The aligning with conservatives, that's been a huge thing for me, because as a person, by the way, just to outline my own personal politics, I view myself as a progressive person. I have progressive politics. That's why these things like aligning with conservatives and really running towards that, with the Liz Cheneys and the Bill Cristols and the Dick Cheneys, that we have to thank Dick Cheney for his service, literally like just freaking patting the guys, just juggling the guy's balls on stage. A Democrat saying that after, 4 years ago, 8 years ago or whatever, we would have been, maybe they wouldn't have, but I'm just saying, like, at least the actual people who are Democrats look at those people as war criminals. And one of the main issues with undecided liberals or undecided progressives is this Gaza issue, So if that is the issue, the crux of the issue, that you're really fighting over your base and really having a hard time, just from an ideological standpoint, getting them to get behind you and really back you as being just Zionist cucks, I think that the worst thing you could do is hear that, acknowledge that criticism, kick those protesters out of your rallies, basically just take a shit on them, and then turn around and then take another diarrhea shit on them, and then bring Liz Cheney everywhere you can. Go to Michigan, the place where, you're fighting for these Muslim voters, or Arab voters, and you're trying to convince them, some of these people that have ties in this region, obviously, and that's how you plan on convincing them? Well, it's no fucking wonder that you can't beat Trump out for that vote. That should be the real look in the fucking mirror. You can't beat Trump. People are tired of the anti-Trump rhetoric bullshit. Like, people are really exhausted by that. Whenever you hear that, everybody's just like, look, we already know why not Trump, that's why you got to tell me why you, or else I'm thinking, like, let's not even show up on voting day. I'm not saying me, but I'm saying this is people, or people to vote third party. This is me, by the way. That is not a vote wasted. I think that is some bullshit, like, two-party system fuckery that they want to tell you in order to convince you to give up your voice. Like, in reality, not voting even. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna not vote, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna judge anybody that doesn't vote, because it is voicing your opinion. It is using that right to vote by saying, I'm going to abstain. You're not going to get my vote because you're blue conservatives now. Unless you're actually forced to fight on the issues with somebody like Mitt Romney, or somebody that's actually a fucking sane human being. I'm not saying Mitt Romney's a sane human being. None of them are fucking sane human beings. They're all psychopaths. But you feel what I'm saying. It's like, my point being is, when you can't use this person is going to be a fucking dictator, or you can't use that kind of like hyperbolic rhetoric, when you can't lean on that, then you see what the progressive party, or the liberal party here, what they choose to do. They choose to scoot closer. They choose to be regressive. Now we're not really battling on the lines of, like, let's do universal health care, or how can we see a path to free college, or whatever, like these kind of issues. We're not really fighting on those battlegrounds anymore, because we can, and by the way, I don't think this is because we don't have to fight on these battle lines. I think it's actually telling. It's like, unless these people, these corporate cunts, these corporate Democrats, unless they're forced to actually lean into the ideology they propose to represent, which is really like they really represent it as a brand. You know, they represent it as a brand, an easy branding to say, hey, we're the other side. You know what I mean? Same thing with Republicans. Like, how much they're really different is always up for, you know, the whole uniparty kind of idea has existed for a long time. But, you know, I think that now it's even more apparent when you're seeing that, you know, as far as like the Democrats, you're having them bring on these people who they were supposedly adversarial with. And this is in an election that's 50-50. Like when they're saying that you got to turn out your base, that's the main thing. You have to inspire the people. That's one of the reasons that Joe Biden, after saying only Jesus Christ could come down here and tell me to get out of this race. Other than that, fuck you. If you're my mom, you're my wife, you're my son, you're my daughter, you're my whatever, it's fuck you, unless you're Jesus Christ, the savior of this planet. And then you can tell me to step down, because only then will I step down so you can run as Jesus, so you can run for president. Oh, Jesus, my Lord. Jesus is king. Let's keep that in mind. But no, I mean, I think it's really, you know, really damning. You know, I mean, I get the idea of, I don't necessarily think things would be better if Trump ends up being elected. And I understand a third party vote, that person is not going to get elected. I get that. But as long as you show the Democrats, in this case, that it's acceptable to run Kamala Harris or run these, like, I mean, because you wouldn't even say that she's a moderate. You know, a lot of the shit on her initially was a lot of her that she was too left or whatever. So I guess that's why she's trying to like posture more towards the middle. Like, hey guys, I'm actually not. I'm pretty cool. Vote for me. But at the end of the day, I think that when you talk about a populist message, which I think is honestly what the majority of people want to hear. That's why Trump, it actually resonates. Now, he's a fucking con man, to be honest, in my opinion anyways. In my opinion, I don't hate on you if you vote for Trump, because at the end of the day, everybody comes to their conclusion for the same reason. I'm also not hating if you vote for Kamala. That's democracy. You know, unlike, you know, these motherfuckers that claim to love democracy and this and that. We got to defend democracy, but every time I can undermine democracy in my own benefit, I would love to do that. I'm not like that. I'm like, hey, if genuinely democracy, you know, people go and the voice of the people is that Donald Trump needs to be president, you know, and that's what it is. That's the voice of the people. I'll personally accept that. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be better. But as long as you are going to tell the Democrats, in this case, like I was saying, that you can run a candidate like Kamala, who's going to, you know, be a fucking phony fraud, by the way, and is going to slowly kind of, you know, scoot closer to the middle, not going to push any of these progressive policies that we feel super strongly about, specifically healthcare. Like, that is a issue for everybody. That is an issue that, by the way, like why I say that this campaign has actually been regressive and has been regressive politics is because that's been an issue that we've been fighting for fucking 12 years. Since I can remember getting into politics, like, that is one of the base things, whether we're going to get it or not. That is a thing that just, principle, we're going to stand on that. You know what I mean? From my perspective, that's at least, and that's what I expect from a progressive party. So, like, really, what's the difference? The difference is you're saying, like, that guy's definitely going to be a dictator, which you don't know. Like, that's just not going to be enough. That guy's going to ruin the country. You know, maybe to a certain degree he will. But maybe to a certain degree fucking you are. And you guys are. You know, there's things that I've actually been impressed with the Biden administration only because I had such low expectations, in all honesty. So, there are some things that I've liked with the Biden, and that's why I mentioned earlier, where it's like she has to distance herself from some of the good policy because of the straight up scandal and fuckery of trying to like sneak in the fucking Weekend at Bernie's guy. Real problems, to be honest with you, from the Democrats. And I think that, you know, if you're not gonna stand for something that is at least for the most part antithetical to Trump and what he stands for, then you don't really have the the high horse to sit here and point at him as something fucking awful. When you have Dick Cheney that you're saying we need to thank him for our service, that motherfucker is responsible for a shit ton of deaths, unnecessary deaths. And like I said, one of the main issues from from like foreign policy standpoint is the Gaza war that's on the brink of becoming a fucking world war for some of us that have children or that are of age to be be active members of service or get drafted into some bullshit war that, really essentially, fucking 2% of this country may be genuinely for and benefits from, in a military industrial complex, obviously, the fuck. So the wealthiest of this country won't be going to put their life on the line. It'll be, our normal people, it'll be our children or us ourselves. So it just really is unacceptable that there's not another side of that to vote on. The fucking Zionist stronghold. We'll see how good this video does, by the way. Now I'm talking about this shit. But yeah, I do think that it's a bit of an issue when we're talking about there is no other side to that. You're picking between the Democrats who want to, support this, if you're not comfortable with the verbiage of a genocide, it's at the very least a lopsided war that has been. You have a people that have been battered into a corner of their fucking territory. Like, let's give me a break. You're no longer under threat. You're no longer under threat. Let's pull back. It's time to talk about peace. That's what you do with people that you're at war with. You try to find peace, especially in a civilized fucking world. So it's like, the fucking colonizer has no fucking... has no ground to stand on if you're going to continue to perpetrate these fucked up savage bullshit. So it's like, no, I can't support anybody that's going to continue to support that. So the Democrats are saying, hey, we'll do that slowly, but quote unquote humanely. And, Trump's saying like, yeah, I'm going to let them just do what they do. Neither of those are great options by any means. But I just don't see that much daylight between them, to be honest, on that issue. Like one of the issues that there is, would be the reproductive rights thing, but you can't use that as a fucking crutch to try to basically fearmonger people into voting for you when you're actually not pushing the needle forward and you're not being progressive. At the end of the day, a lot of the people that are disenchanted with the Democratic Party, they're not fucking Trumpers. They're not going to vote for Trump anyways. You know what I mean? So you appealing to those people, you're not going to convince Trump voters to come over last minute. So it's like, you got to actually stand on something and you got to stand on real principles. That's one thing, by the way, I do want to mention was the Joe Rogan podcast. The whole bullshit back and forth with that. Some of what Joe was saying was that they wanted him to come to them and it could only be an hour or something. Either way, there's just a bunch of bullshit back and forth. She should have done that. There wasn't much to lose with that. Joe Rogan's not like a hard-hitting fucking interviewer to where you can't... I hope if you can't sit down and have a conversation, even if it's a contentious one with Joe Rogan, you shouldn't be president. Point blank period. Give me a fucking break. Joe Rogan's pretty cool, to be honest. I like Joe Rogan, but I'm not saying that's not why I think that she should have went on his show. I think that there's a lot of people, like myself actually, who tune into Joe Rogan's show who are not Trumpers, or are not even conservatives, So I think them treating that as if it wasn't important because they probably take Joe as a representative of his overall audience, and by the way, their version of what they think Joe Rogan is, and they probably map that onto his audience and think it's something like that. So they think of him as this conservative, fucking conspiracy theorist, most likely. I don't know. I'm just assuming, but I'm saying. So they're thinking that probably that there's not as much of a win with his audience in that way, and maybe even a bit of a risk. However, I want my president to be more fucking confident than that, for one. And two, there was 100% a huge win to be had there with his audience. A huge audience. And honestly, I think where I do have plenty of times where I watch Joe's show and I disagree with him, or I think that, he has been captured a little bit by, maybe, and I don't want to say captured. I mean, people could evolve and then just come to be like, hey, I'm developing a little bit of more of a conservative ideology that actually works with how I view the world. I don't want to say people can't do that either. So, however he has come to this conclusion, I also watch his show and sometimes find that he is more conservative or holds those views more, or even holds a disdain towards progressives or whatever, or liberals, whatever the fuck. But I don't think that's completely undeserved either, to be honest. Where there's right-wing fucking idiots that, as somebody who's not right-wing can look at that and be like, yeah, some of Trump supporters are complete fucking idiots. And I think even Trump supporters look at that and probably look around at the rallies and are like, damn, I'm surrounded by some real dumbasses here. But I think the same thing exists on the other side. Like, there's a huge portion of people who are liberal, who are completely normal and cool and fucking awesome people. And then there are some people who are crazy liberal and cross over into whatever kind of like woke, whatever you think of as the woke mind virus person. Some of those people actually do exist, and they're really fucking annoying too, and fucking stupid. And when I hear them, I'm like, please shut the fuck up. So, yeah, either way, I think, those people, I think have turned Joe Rogan off for good reason, and they've been adversarial to him as well, by the way, so it kind of, I think, pushes him in that direction. But either way, to get away from the point being is that there's a lot of people that listen to his show, though, whose politics are open. And there's some people, and it's a fucking huge audience. Like, there's some people that to be won there. And then either way, so here, and then I guess the last point, unless I think of something before we hop off here, is just from a strategist standpoint, political strategist standpoint. Hear me out here. Check the hiccups out. We keep it real here, and I don't edit this shit like that. We just keep the hiccups in, and we rock. But from a political strategy standpoint, this is how I see it. Let's just say Kamala wins. If Kamala wins this race, then we're probably 95% sure, God forbid something horrible happens, and I don't want that to happen, we're probably running Kamala again. And even if we're not running Kamala again, you've affirmed this strategy from the Democrats, putting forth a candidate that's going to go up there and jerk off Liz Cheney. Fucking... Never mind, actually. That's too crude. But I'm having fun. But you will have enabled and affirmed that strategy to the point to where somebody that's adjacent to that is going to be acceptable for the Democrats to run again. And since I am also a realist, and I don't think that, necessarily next presidential election, the Green Party or something like that's going to be viable, although the only way that happens is if you get out there and vote for those parties. So fuck that whole it's a wasted vote bullshit that people like fucking Pete Buttigieg and shit like that. I've seen plenty of people, and he called us stray just now, but I've seen plenty of people that's a big fear tactic. When you see like some of the campaign ads and stuff like that against Jill Stein, really trying, because obviously the two-party system is threatened by that. They're fucking printing money hand over fist. They have a complete monopoly. There's two parties, but you get what I'm saying. As far as like the market share is huge when you consider really only two parties are participating in that. So it's a complete fucking con job. And as long as you're complicit in them, putting forth meat puppets, Weekend at Bernie, fucking, sacks of shit. No, but, as long as you're complicit with putting forth Joe Biden, that's going to be acceptable. We're even going to treat him as he's a hero and he's one of the best presidents we've ever had based off his resume and the fact he was so selfless and willing to step down. aka was literally forced, or else they were like, I'm not, things that I'm not going to say on here about a sitting president. Is he fucking sitting? Is he lying? Is he fucking suspended in animation? Is he in a fucking cryogenic chamber right now? Fucking, who the fuck knows? We get that man a sensu bean. He needs fucking help. When he was fucking on there, fuck, they're garbage. I meant fucking plural with the apostrophe. Idiot. Please get this man the fuck out off our TVs. Put him in a home somewhere, along with his fucking crazy ass fucking doctor wife. But okay, so from a strategy standpoint, my bad. This was a little bit of a rant, but I'm vibing, and it is actually really early in the morning for me. So let's just put it like that. It's rant time, baby. But so from a political strategy standpoint, I don't like that strategy. Her winning 2028, we get her again. She probably wins again, coming with the incumbent advantage. I don't think that things will be like totally terrible with her. I don't think she'd be a horrible president. I think America's a beautiful place to live. So I think there's some things you could do to convince people around election time specifically to keep things the same and status quo, and who knows who she'll be running against at that point. So I think it's possible she wins 2028, and then at that point, going past even 2028, at this point, we will have, reaffirmed past 2028 that this is a strategy that works for us. Give us more of this, conservative Democrat bullshit. That even, by the way, they love the idea. Think of it as like a business. You know what I mean? They love the idea of being able to appeal to conservatives, to be honest, to get away with that. Like right in the front of fucking progressives' face, because it's similar to the Trump thing. Trump would love to steal fucking Democrats because he knows he could say anything to his base of Republicans and they're going to vote for him. So it's like the same thing with the Democrats. They're like, oh, customers. Think about like customers. Think about like a business. It's a fucking corporate business fucking chilling out. So they're like, oh, this gives us an opportunity to get more people under our tent. Yes, sir. More businesses to give us monies. Yes. Okay. We'll represent you too. Come on. Fuck them. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Like, if you got the money, then we got the policy. Let's go. Disgusting shit. So I don't know that it's not a better, even if you're progressive, and like I said, I would identify myself there. Even if you're progressive, I don't know if it's not in your best interest for Trump to win in 4 years and probably do crazy shit. He's not going to be able to run in 4 years, so it's not going to be him anyway. So somebody with less of a cult of personality around him is going to take up that mantle and probably fall on their face like fucking Ron DeSantis, fucking pussy. Literally such a coward, had to change the state constitution. We love the Constitution. We feel strongly about constitutions until it's not convenient. Fucking Ron DeSantis, absolute fucking puss. Changes it so he can maintain his governorship while he tries to run for president because he knew he's going to fall right on his fucking face like he did. The fucking man does not know how to walk in some heels. Neither do I, but I don't wear them. So he wore heels, and then he fell on his face figuratively. He actually did literally know how to walk in heels and never fell on his face. So whatever that, if that's a negative to you or whatever, however you feel about that is how you feel about that. But my point being is somebody's going to take that mantle after this 4 years that's not Donald Trump, that doesn't have the personality and all that kind of shit, doesn't have the media already obsessed with them because of whatever. So they're going to have a taller order, in order to get away with some of what they're trying to get away with, I think. And then at that point, I would prefer, so now we're talking about 2028, right? Theoretically, Trump's won. So he comes, he fucks shit up, maybe even makes conservatives look bad because at that point, he fucks shit up. There's a power vacuum that opens and then somebody tries to step into MAGA, or you have, the rhinos try to reassert control over the party. So regardless, I think it's honestly a clusterfuck at that point. So then you have the opportunity to actually run a progressive candidate, hopefully a progressive populace that is going to run on policies that actually benefit the majority of the people in this country. A flashpoint event is happening. Let's not let's not get it fucking twisted here. I'm going to speak very plainly. This is a flashpoint event. You have a moment in history. We are on the brink of several wars. We're on the brink of a world war. I'm not fear mongering. I'm not the type to do that. I'm just keeping it real. We're on the brink of a fucking world war in several different locations, which is why it's a world war. You have a fucking labor crisis that we're on the brink of as well. Do not get that twisted. People that try to advocate, workers, people who are in the working fucking class, trying to be anti-fucking union or anti-worker organization, dumbass shit. And this is the fucking bag that they sell you, the bag that conservatives sell you. This is why, as workers, we should never fall for that. Absolutely fucking not. There's just no. So basically, point being is that's another flashpoint issue. We have AI that's really coming into frame here. Automated workforces is something we're going to see. How do we transition into that without the people who are already living check to check not fucking starving to death? This is even something that we talk about. I haven't seen anybody really talk about this on the campaign trail because the Democrats are comfortable to sit in. Trump, don't vote for him. He's bad. It feels more like Hillary Clinton versus Trump than it did Trump versus Biden, because Trump versus Biden, I actually feel like it was less of a voting for the less of two evils. With Hillary Clinton, I felt like that was what I heard everybody say. Well, it's, whoever you think is not as bad. With Biden, I think people genuinely at that point, with the pandemic and I don't even know if I should say, because fucking keywords, and they already fucking shadow banned your boy. So fucking subscribe, send this shit to people, help me grow, because I spent like fucking 5 months in YouTube jail, pussies. But I don't help myself because I do get on these fucking side rants, but it's because I'm chilling and it feels like I'm at home just talking to myself, but I'm talking to you. I lost my train of thought. This is, but yeah, so either way, the thing is, but I do know the general point being, and the important point being, is that the strategy point, which is in 2028, if we, and this is why I made my decision, by the way, to make it clear on the video, why I made my decision that I don't believe that I will be supporting Kamala unless something crazy happens over the next 24 hours. I get visited by the fucking FBI or some shit. Don't do that. Just kidding. Yeah. So I think that the reason I decided that I can't vote for her is because of these reasons. I can't continue to affirm a party that there's very little light between that and the Conservative Party, which obviously doesn't align with my beliefs. And when there's only these two parties, I just can't affirm this like bullshit where it's, it truly is. And there's not even any veiling of this kind of like attempt at some kind of uniparty bullshit structure. The Gaza stuff, I can't support that from either party. I don't think that Trump's going to be any better on that. That's true. But, Democrats trying to act like they're going to be much better. I don't actually believe that. I don't think I've seen that. I think they're extremely hawkish with the whole Israel thing, for whatever reason. So I don't trust their judgment when it comes to that. I think, the proof is in the pudding there. Period. With how Biden's handled it, how everybody associated with Biden has handled the Gaza situation. The schooling thing and healthcare, two huge things. And by the way, these are things, if I was a progressive candidate, I would be running on. And I think the next progressive candidate, hopefully, hears this or is hearing this from somebody, where these are the issues that I think honestly ring to a majority of the people out there. I would say 70% of the population. I say these kind of things, I think it resonates. I think healthcare, like people, when you really start to describe that to people, it becomes less of a partisan issue. When you're able to cut through whatever kind of bullshit, talking points somebody's downloaded into their brain, that's something that people could get behind. Free schooling, whether it's you that's getting the free schooling or not, like at a state university, like that benefits you. Whether you understand that or not, having a more educated neighbor, more educated population in general, your children, if you're planning on having children, because a lot of people's like, well, my schooling wasn't paid for, or I didn't go to school, I decided to open up a business or something. Well, you know what? Maybe your kids would love to go to school, and there shouldn't be this threshold that's put in place to one of the main ways to access generational wealth, education. There shouldn't be this threshold to where the poorest people can't access it without going into crippling debt, which is obviously a deterrent for them because they're already behind the 8 ball starting out. That's a disgusting thing that I think needs to be remedied. So, we can have this access to education, which also, addresses my next point, which is the labor issue. The labor issue is serious. And, that's one thing that I actually have liked with Biden is some of his union support. So, I want to give credit where it's due. But that's something that we should be hearing in this campaign. That should be a main issue that's being fought over when Trump wants to have some kind of like bullshit issue or whatever. He wants to whatever, because I can only want to put it on Trump because they're just both talking about bullshit. So whatever the fucking point of the conversation is, to be able to bring that to, hey guys, like we have a new era of civilization that we're on the brink of, and as Americans we should all want to be at the cutting edge of it, which is this AI revolution, which will be a revolution to the workforce. That's something we have to prepare for. If we don't, companies are preparing for it, of course they will, and they're under no obligation to hire the citizens that make up this country. And if they don't have jobs, the bulk of the citizens in this country, and they're forced to find another way to eat, who knows how they're going to do that? Like, that's a serious issue that I think, bleeds into things like crime, which none of us want to see grow. During COVID, there were times that got, very concerning, and rightfully so. People were concerned about crime during that because people got desperate at that time. That's why you started to see stimulus checks and stuff. So you saw that those kind of things came from that kind of came from a reactive place. Based off these issues. So, I would love for us not to be so reactive, which we already are in reality. We're already, I think, late to the party here with AI and how we're going to prepare that and how we're going to shift our society to be better prepared for that. I'm not hearing those things. So like I said, education, labor, all the things that we talked about today, genuine concerns and reasons why I just can't continue to support and continue to reaffirm a party that claims to represent progressive values, but have shown at the first opportunity, to get in bed with more fucking special interest fucking cunts. They did it happily. They hopped right in bed. And, it's just, it's disappointing. And, I was in favor of a open primary, even a late open primary for these kind of reasons. I think when you allow these ideas and problems to be fought over, I think that's when we probably would have heard when you would have had to fight against other people who are liberal. That's where I think you start to, be forced to take those more liberal positions because you want to win over the liberal base. So because we skipped that part, we just went straight to let's tell Liz Cheney to throw the fucking strap on, and here we are, hop on stage. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. Make sure you get out and vote. Make sure your voice is heard. Do what you think is best. I support democracy, so I support whatever you're going to choose for yourself. Hopefully everything is, smooth, and, everybody's is able to accept the results afterwards, and we're able to move on as a country. And, hopefully, honestly, find some kind of common ground and not completely burn down the country regardless, either way it goes. That's actually a path that I think is more advantageous for us as a people, regardless. Uh, Based off of like if Trump was going to get voted in, that's was kind of the premise as far as like from a political strategy. I almost wouldn't. I can't say that I would prefer that because I do think that it would probably be worse in the short term. I'm not going to deny that. Um, but I do think in the long term, really challenging the Democratic Party on their ideals and saying this isn't sufficient, this isn't something that actually represents a progressive party in 2024, and just isn't going to cut it. So next time, hopefully, we see better. But this is sit and politic with me for real this time. I'm James. Make sure you follow me, Sit and Politic, on all platforms, Instagram and Twitter. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me directly. So hit me up so we can collaborate, talk some shit, or just chop it up. I love that. On Twitter, I do a little bit more of that, but the collaboration probably better on Instagram. Either way, Sit and Politicking. Make sure you subscribe, share this, get involved in the conversation, get in the comments. Tell me where you disagreed. Am I tripping? Last second, tell me no. Vote for Kamala. Don't waste your vote, brother. Don't waste your vote. Or just let me know. However you felt about the video and that you want to stick around to watch some more. So peace out. We will see you next time. Oh, also, election coverage. I might even record something here at the end of this so I can put it at the beginning of the video. But I am probably going to do some live of election coverage. I am actually. Let me commit to it. So I don't bullshit. Live election coverage. I'll definitely do a live chop up with what we're seeing the night of. That's remember the 5th of November. Don't forget it, baby. I will be live, sitting and politicking. Say from 5 to 6 ish. Check in, subscribe, show some love.